Jason stood frozen, the bouquet in his hand trembling slightly. He watched Mrs. Kim walk away with quiet dignity, her back straight, her pace calm. No drama, no confrontation, just gratitude. He stayed by the fence long after she disappeared from sight. For the first time in years, he didn't feel like the most powerful man in the room. He felt like a man who had finally done something good, not for profit, not for recognition, but simply because it was right. That night, he returned to his study and removed the last remaining hard drive from his surveillance system. Instead of destroying it, he locked it in a drawer, not to revisit the footage, but to remind himself of the man he never wanted to become again. In the weeks that followed, Starlight launched without Lee Min-ho. The platform found moderate success, but Jason didn't care. He no longer chased domination. Instead, he donated anonymously to multiple journalism and legal advocacy groups, including one that supported whistleblowers. And sometimes, on quiet afternoons, he'd walk past the fence, hoping to glimpse Mrs. Kim in the garden, tending the same patch of earth where she buried the truth. He never spoke to Min-ho. He never asked for forgiveness. But every time he saw the flowers bloom at the edge of that garden, he smiled, knowing that some truths, once uncovered, had the power to set everyone free, including himself. The humid soul air hung heavy, thick with the promise of a summer storm. Inside his minimalist, glass-walled mansion overlooking the Han River, Park Jae-sung, a tech mogul whose fortune was as vast as his ambition, adjusted the focus on one of the dozens of security cameras he'd covertly installed. He wasn't concerned about intruders or paparazzi. His target was Lee Min-ho, the globally adored actor, his neighbor, and, in Jae-sung's mind, an obstacle. Jae-sung wasn't driven by simple jealousy of Min-ho's fame. It was more intricate, a tangled web of ambition and insecurity. Jae-sung was launching Starlight, a revolutionary streaming platform poised to eclipse all others. Securing Lee Min-ho as its flagship star was paramount. He'd offered Min-ho a deal so lucrative it made even Jae-sung's own eyes water. Yet, Min-ho had politely, but firmly, declined. Jae-sung couldn't comprehend rejection. He'd built his empire on bending the world to his will. He needed to understand Min-ho's motivations, his weaknesses, anything he could leverage. Hence, the cameras. He wanted to know everything about the actor's life, hoping to find the chink in his armor. The system was state-of-the-art, feeding directly into a dedicated server room hidden beneath his mansion. He had feeds from the street, the park bordering their properties, even subtly placed cameras within Min-ho's garden, disguised as decorative rocks. He monitored Min-ho's comings and goings, his interactions with his staff, his training regime. Days blurred into weeks, and the information was ordinary. Min-ho was exactly what he projected, disciplined, kind, and seemingly content. It was infuriating. Then there was Mrs. Kim, Min-ho's housekeeper. A woman of quiet dignity, her face etched with the wisdom of years, she was a constant presence in Min-ho's life. Jae-sung initially dismissed her. She was just background noise, someone to dust furniture and prepare meals. He'd barely registered her. He was wrong. Terribly wrong. One sweltering afternoon, Jae-sung was reviewing footage from a camera position near Min-ho's back gate. Min-ho was away, filming on location. Mrs. Kim was tending to the small vegetable garden Min-ho cultivated himself, her movements slow but deliberate. A black luxury sedan pulled up to the gate. A man in a crisp, dark suit emerged. He was impeccably dressed, exuding an air of quiet authority. Jae-sung recognized him instantly. It was Chairman Choi, the notoriously ruthless head of Golden Era Entertainment, Min-ho's agency. Choi was known for his iron grip on his talent and his willingness to employ any means necessary to maintain his dominance in the industry. The conversation was inaudible, but Jae-sung zoomed in on their faces. Choi was doing the talking, his expression intense. Mrs. Kim listened, her face unreadable. After several minutes, Choi handed her a thick envelope. She took it, her gaze unwavering. Choi got back into the car, and it sped away. Jae-sung's blood ran cold. Had Choi bribed Mrs. Kim? Was she feeding him information about Minho? This was it, he thought, the leverage he needed. He rewound the footage, analyzing every frame, every micro-expression. He watched Mrs. Kim walk back to the house, the envelope clutched in her hand. Instead of going inside, she walked to the edge of Minho's property, near the border fence separating their land. She looked around, ensuring she was alone. Then, she carefully opened the envelope. Jae-sung leaned closer to the monitor, his heart pounding. Inside, nestled amongst the stacks of cash, was a photograph. A faded, creased photograph of a young woman, her face radiant with a smile. Jae-sung didn't recognize her. Mrs. Kim's face crumpled. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she stared at the picture. She clutched it to her chest, her body shaking with silent sobs. Then, with a deliberate motion, she walked to a small, overgrown patch of weeds near the fence. She dug a small hole with her bare hands and buried the envelope, money and all. She covered it with dirt, smoothing the ground as if erasing a secret. Jae-sung was stunned. What had he just witnessed? Why would she bury the money? And who was the woman in the photograph? Driven by a sudden, inexplicable urge, Jae-sung left his mansion and walked towards the border fence. He found the patch of disturbed earth, still damp from Mrs. Kim's tears. He looked around, making sure he wasn't being observed, and started digging. The envelope was still there, buried just beneath the surface. He pulled it out, his hands trembling. He took out the photograph. The woman in the picture looked vaguely familiar. There was something about her eyes. Then it hit him. He knew those eyes. He'd seen them in Minho's. They were the same. He remembered a fleeting news report from years ago, before Minho's meteoric rise to fame. A story about a young actress, Minho's sister, who had tragically died in a car accident. The article mentioned her promising career, cut short too soon. He looked at the money. Choi hadn't been bribing Mrs. Kim. He was trying to silence her, to buy her silence regarding something related to Minho's deceased sister. But why? He returned to his mansion, his mind racing. He accessed his extensive research files on Minho. He dug deeper, searching for any mention of the accident, any hint of scandal. He found nothing. The official report attributed the accident to reckless driving by another vehicle. But something felt wrong. He returned to the security footage, focusing on the conversation between Choi and Mrs. Kim. He enhanced the audio, using technology that could isolate and amplify even the faintest sounds. He managed to salvage a few fragmented sentences. The truth, for his sake. Choi had said, his voice low and menacing. Can't burden him, already suffered so much. Mrs. Kim had replied, her voice choked with emotion. Jae-sung replayed the footage again and again, piecing together the fragments. He realized that Mrs. Kim wasn't protecting Choi. She was protecting Minho. She was shielding him from a truth so devastating it could shatter his world. He spent the next few days obsessively researching the accident, scouring old news archives, police reports, anything he could find. He finally stumbled upon a small, almost forgotten detail. The driver of the other vehicle had been heavily intoxicated. But the blood alcohol test results had been suppressed. The case had been quietly closed, with the driver receiving a lenient sentence. He dug even deeper, following the money trail. He discovered that Golden Era Entertainment had made a significant donation to the police department shortly after the accident. The truth hit him like a tidal wave. Choi had covered up the truth about the accident to protect the agency's image. Minho's sister hadn't been the victim of a simple accident. She had been the victim of a carefully orchestrated cover-up. Jae-sung felt a profound sense of shame. He had been so consumed by his own ambition, so blinded by his desire to control Min-ho, that he had completely missed the human story unfolding before him. He had seen Mrs. Kim as an insignificant cog in the machine, never realizing the depth of her loyalty and her quiet strength. He knew what he had to do. He deleted all the security footage he had gathered on Min-ho. He erased every trace of his surveillance operation. He then compiled all the evidence he had uncovered about the accident and the cover-up. He anonymously sent it to a reputable investigative journalist, knowing that the truth would eventually come to light. He knew that his actions would likely jeopardize his chances of ever signing Min-ho to Starlight. He didn't care. He realized that some things were more important than ambition, more important than money. A week later, the story broke. The scandal rocked the entertainment industry. Choi was forced to resign. Golden Era Entertainment was facing multiple lawsuits. Min-ho, devastated by the revelation, publicly thanked the journalist for uncovering the truth. He also expressed his gratitude to Mrs. Kim, whom he described as a second mother. Jae-sung watched the news unfold from his mansion, a profound sense of peace settling over him. He knew he had done the right thing. A few days later, Mrs. Kim appeared at his gate. He was surprised to see her. He braced himself for anger, for accusations. She bowed deeply. "Thank you," she said, her voice soft but firm. "For protecting him." Jae-sung was speechless. How did she know? She smiled knowingly. "I may be old, but I'm not blind. I saw the cameras. I knew you were watching. I just didn't know why." She paused, then added, "Min-ho is a good man. He deserves to be happy." She handed him a small, hand-picked bouquet of flowers from Min-ho's garden. "He wanted to thank you personally, but he's not ready yet. Maybe someday." She bowed again and walked away. Jae-sung stood there, holding the flowers, the scent of earth and blossoms filling the air. He looked across the fence at Min-ho's house, at the life he had tried to manipulate. He realized that true success wasn't about power or control. It was about integrity, compassion, and the courage to do what was right, even when it was difficult. He never did sign Lee Min-ho to Starlight. But he learned a far more valuable lesson, a lesson that no amount of money could ever buy. He learned that sometimes, the greatest discoveries are made not by looking for weaknesses, but by recognizing strength, loyalty, and the enduring power of the human spirit. And that sometimes, the most shocking revelations come not from the famous, but from the quiet, unassuming people who live in the shadows, guarding the secrets of the heart. He finally understood that Mrs. Kim's unwavering devotion, her quiet heroism, was worth more than all the money in the world. The launch of Starlight proceeded without Lee Min-ho. Ironically, the platform's initial success was fueled, in part, by the very scandal Jae-sung had helped expose. People were drawn to the authenticity that now seemed to permeate Min-ho's public image, a stark contrast to the manufactured perfection of other celebrities. Jae-sung watched as Min-ho navigated the storm with grace and vulnerability, emerging stronger and more respected than ever. Starlight did well, but it lacked the star power Jae-sung had initially craved. He found himself less interested in expansion and more focused on building a company culture that valued ethics and transparency. He instituted rigorous vetting processes for potential partners and implemented whistleblower protections for employees. He even established a foundation to support victims of corporate malfeasance. He often thought about Mrs. Kim and Min-ho. He never approached them directly, respecting their space and the delicate balance they had found. He saw Min-ho occasionally, jogging in the park or visiting the local market. They would nod in acknowledgement, a silent understanding passing between them. One day, about a year after the scandal broke, Jae-sung received a package. It was a small, unassuming box, wrapped in plain brown paper. There was no return address. He hesitated before opening it, a flicker of apprehension in his chest. Inside, nestled on a bed of soft cotton, was a single, perfectly formed bonsai tree. It was a miniature juniper, its branches artfully twisted and shaped over years of careful cultivation. Attached to the tree was a small, handwritten note. "May this tree remind you of the importance of patience, perseverance, and the beauty that can be found in unexpected places," the note read. It was signed simply, LMH. Jason stared at the bonsai tree, his heart swelling with emotion. It was more than just a gift, it was an olive branch, a symbol of forgiveness and hope. It was a testament to Minho's generosity of spirit, his ability to see beyond Jason's past mistakes and recognize the change in his heart. He placed the bonsai tree on his desk, where it became a constant reminder of the lessons he had learned. He continued to run Starlight, but his focus had shifted. He was no longer driven by a relentless pursuit of wealth and power. He was driven by a desire to create something meaningful, something that would contribute to the world in a positive way. He started investing in independent filmmakers and artists, providing them with the resources and support they needed to bring their stories to life. He launched a program to mentor young entrepreneurs from underprivileged backgrounds, helping them to develop their business skills and realize their dreams. He even started taking pottery classes, finding solace and creativity in the simple act of shaping clay. He discovered a hidden talent, creating unique and beautiful pieces that reflected his newfound appreciation for imperfection and the beauty of the natural world. Years passed. Starlight continued to thrive, becoming known as a platform that championed diversity and innovation. Jason's reputation transformed from that of a ruthless tycoon to a respected philanthropist and patron of the arts. One spring afternoon, Jason received an invitation to a charity gala hosted by Minho. He hesitated for a moment, unsure if he should accept. He hadn't spoken to Minho directly since receiving the bonsai tree. He decided to go. The gala was held in a sprawling garden, illuminated by twinkling lights and filled with the sounds of music and laughter. Jason felt a pang of nervousness as he walked through the crowd, searching for Minho. He found him standing on a small stage, addressing the guests. Minho looked older, wiser, but his smile was as radiant as ever. He was speaking passionately about the importance of giving back to the community and supporting those in need. As Minho finished his speech, his eyes met Jason's. A flicker of recognition, then a warm smile spread across his face. He stepped off the stage and walked towards Jason, extending his hand. "Jason SSI, Minho said, his voice sincere. "Thank you for coming." Jason shook his hand, feeling a surge of gratitude. "Thank you for inviting me, Minho SSI." They stood in silence for a moment, a comfortable understanding passing between them. "I wanted to thank you, in person, for what you did," Minho said, his voice low. "For uncovering the truth about my sister. It wasn't easy, but it was necessary." Jason nodded, unable to speak. "And thank you for protecting Mrs. Kim," Minho added. "She's a remarkable woman." "She is," Jason agreed. Minho smiled. "She told me about the flowers." They both laughed, the tension easing. "I'm glad things have worked out for you," Minho said. "I hear good things about Starlight." "Thank you," Jason replied. "I'm trying to do better." Minho nodded. "We all are." He paused, then added, "Perhaps someday, we can work together. But for now, I'm content with knowing that we're both on the right path." Jason smiled. "Me too." They talked for a while longer, about their lives, their work, their hopes for the future. Jason realized that he had finally found what he had been searching for all along, not fame or fortune, but connection, purpose, and the satisfaction of knowing that he was making a difference in the world. As the evening drew to a close, Jason found himself standing near Mrs. Kim. She was watching Minho with a look of quiet pride on her face. He approached her cautiously. "Mrs. Kim," he said, bowing respectfully. "It's good to see you again." She smiled, her eyes twinkling. "Jason SSI. You've come a long way." "I have," he agreed. "And I have you to thank, in part." She chuckled. "I didn't do anything. You did it all yourself." "You showed me the way," he said. "You showed me what truly matters." She patted his hand. "Just remember," she said, her voice soft but firm. "Kindness is always the answer." Jason nodded, his heart filled with gratitude. He looked at Mrs. Kim, at Minho, at the beautiful garden bathed in the soft glow of the evening light. He realized that he had finally found his place in the world, not as a ruthless tycoon, but as a human being, connected to others by bonds of compassion and understanding. He had started his journey by trying to control Lee Minho, driven by ambition and insecurity. He had ended it by finding himself, transformed by the quiet heroism of a housekeeper and the enduring power of forgiveness. He had learned that true wealth wasn't measured in dollars and cents, but in the richness of human connection and the unwavering pursuit of a life well lived. And that, he knew, was a treasure worth more than any fortune. The air grew cooler as the night deepened. Jason, feeling lighter than he had in years, decided to take a walk along the perimeter of the garden. He wanted to savor the moment, to etch the feeling of contentment into his memory. The scent of roses and jasmine filled the air, mingling with the distant hum of the city. He paused near a secluded bench, partially hidden by a weeping willow tree. As he approached, he noticed a figure sitting there, silhouetted against the moonlight. It was an elderly woman, her face etched with wrinkles, her eyes filled with a quiet sadness. He hesitated, unsure if he should intrude. But something about her drew him in. He felt a kinship, a shared sense of solitude. He sat down on the bench, leaving a respectful distance between them. They sat in silence for a few moments, listening to the rustling of the leaves and the chirping of crickets. Finally, the woman spoke, her voice raspy but gentle. "Beautiful night, isn't it?" "It is," Jason agreed. "Very peaceful." "Peace is a rare commodity these days," she said, sighing softly. "It is," Jason replied. "I've learned that the hard way." The woman turned to him, her eyes searching his face. "You seem like a man who has seen a lot," she said. "I have," Jason said. "More than I care to admit." "Life has a way of teaching us lessons, doesn't it?" she said. "Sometimes, the lessons are painful. But they are always valuable." "That's true," Jason said. "I've made a lot of mistakes in my life. I've hurt people. I've been selfish." "We all make mistakes," the woman said. "It's what we do after the mistakes that matters." "I'm trying to make amends," Jason said. "I'm trying to be a better person." "That's all anyone can ask for," the woman said. "Just keep trying. Never give up hope." They sat in silence again, the moonlight casting long shadows across the garden. Jason felt a sense of calm wash over him, a feeling he hadn't experienced in a long time. He turned to the woman, his voice filled with gratitude. "Thank you," he said. "For your words. I needed to hear them." The woman smiled. "You're welcome," she said. "Sometimes, all we need is someone to listen." She stood up, her movements slow but graceful. "I should be going now," she said. "It's getting late." "Will you be all right?" Jae-sung asked. "I'll be fine," she said. "I'm used to being alone." She walked away, disappearing into the shadows. Jae-sung watched her go, feeling a pang of sadness. He wondered who she was, what her story was. He sat on the bench for a few more minutes, reflecting on their conversation. He realized that even in the midst of a crowded gala, surrounded by wealth and fame, loneliness could still find a way to creep in. He resolved to be more mindful of the people around him, to offer a listening ear to those who needed it. He stood up and walked towards the exit, his heart filled with a renewed sense of purpose. As he passed by the stage, he noticed Minho talking to a group of people. He paused for a moment, watching him. Minho caught his eye and smiled. He excused himself from the group and walked towards Jae-sung. "Everything all right?" Minho asked. "Everything's perfect," Jae-sung said. "Thank you, Minho SSI." "Anytime," Minho said. "Take care, Jae-sung SSI." Jae-sung nodded and walked away, leaving the garden behind. As he drove home, he thought about the elderly woman on the bench, about Mrs. Kim, about Minho, about all the people who had touched his life in unexpected ways. He realized that life was a tapestry, woven with threads of joy and sorrow, success and failure, love and loss. It was a complex and beautiful thing, and he was grateful to be a part of it. He arrived at his mansion, the glass walls reflecting the city lights. He walked inside, feeling a sense of warmth and belonging. He went to his office and looked at the bonsai tree on his desk. It was thriving, its branches reaching towards the light. He smiled. He knew that he still had a long way to go, but he was on the right path. He was learning to be a better person, to live a more meaningful life. And that, he knew, was the greatest success of all. He turned off the lights and went to bed, his mind filled with peaceful thoughts. As he drifted off to sleep, he dreamt of gardens bathed in moonlight, of kind faces and gentle voices, of a world where compassion and understanding reigned supreme. And he knew that even in the darkest of times, hope could always be found, waiting to blossom in the most unexpected places. The next morning, Jae-sung awoke with a feeling of renewed energy. He had a busy day ahead of him, but he felt ready to face whatever challenges came his way. He started his day with a workout, followed by a healthy breakfast. As he was eating, he received a phone call from his assistant. "Mr. Park," she said, "I have some exciting news. We've just received confirmation that Starlight has been nominated for several prestigious awards." Jae-sung smiled. "That's wonderful news," he said. "Thank you for letting me know." "There's also something else," his assistant said. "Lee Min-ho SSI has expressed interest in collaborating with Starlight on a new project." Jae-sung's heart skipped a beat. "Are you serious?" he asked. "Yes, sir," his assistant replied. "He said he was impressed with the changes you've made at Starlight and that he believes in your vision." Jae-sung was speechless. He couldn't believe that Min-ho was willing to work with him after everything that had happened. "Tell him that I'm honored," Jae-sung said. "Tell him that I would be thrilled to collaborate with him on any project he chooses." "I will, sir," his assistant said. "Congratulations, Mr. Park." "Thank you," Jae-sung said. He hung up the phone, feeling a surge of excitement and gratitude. He had come full circle. He had started his journey by trying to control Lee Min-ho, and now, Min-ho was choosing to work with him. He realized that life was full of surprises, that anything was possible if you were willing to learn from your mistakes and embrace change. He was no longer the same man he had been a year ago. He was a better man, a more compassionate man, a more understanding man. He finished his breakfast and went to his office. He looked at the bonsai tree on his desk, its branches reaching towards the sky. He smiled. He knew that the future was uncertain, but he was ready to face it with courage, kindness, and an unwavering commitment to making the world a better place. The journey had been long and arduous, but he had finally arrived at his destination, a place of peace, purpose, and genuine fulfillment. And it all started with a millionaire, some cameras, and a housekeeper who knew the true meaning of loyalty. The meeting with Lee Min-ho was scheduled for the following week. Jae-sung spent the days leading up to it meticulously preparing, not just for the business aspects, but also mentally and emotionally. He wanted to be sure he was approaching this collaboration with genuine humility and respect. He even consulted Mrs. Kim, seeking her wisdom and guidance. "Just be yourself, Jae-sun SSI," she advised, her eyes twinkling with warmth. "Min-ho is a kind and discerning man. He will see the sincerity in your heart." Her words calmed his nerves. He knew she was right. He couldn't pretend to be someone he wasn't. He had to be honest about his past mistakes and demonstrate his commitment to a better future. The day of the meeting arrived, crisp and clear. Jae-sung arrived at Min-ho's agency early, wanting to ensure everything was perfect. He was greeted by Min-ho's manager, a sharp but cordial woman named Miss Choi. "Mr. Park," she said, extending her hand. "It's a pleasure to finally meet you. Lee Min-ho SSI is looking forward to this collaboration." Jae-sung shook her hand, feeling a sense of relief. The atmosphere was positive and welcoming. He was led to a spacious conference room, overlooking the Han River. The view was breathtaking, but Jae-sung's attention was focused on the door. He waited, his heart pounding in his chest. Finally, the door opened and Lee Min-ho walked in. He was even more handsome in person, his presence radiating charisma and warmth. "Jae-sun SSI," Min-ho said, extending his hand with a genuine smile. "Thank you for coming." Jae-sung shook his hand, feeling a surge of gratitude. "The pleasure is all mine, Min-ho SSI," he replied. They sat down at the conference table, and the meeting began. Min-ho outlined his vision for the project, a documentary series focusing on social issues and highlighting the stories of ordinary people who were making a difference in their communities. Jae-sung was immediately captivated by the concept. It was exactly the kind of project he wanted Starlight to be involved in, a project that would use the power of media to inspire positive change. He listened intently, offering his insights and suggestions. He was impressed by Min-ho's passion and his commitment to using his platform for good. As the meeting progressed, Jae-sung felt a sense of connection with Min-ho. They were both driven by a desire to make a difference in the world, to use their resources and influence to help others. By the end of the meeting, they had reached a tentative agreement. They would work together to develop the documentary series, with Starlight providing the financial backing and production expertise, and Min-ho lending his star power and creative vision. "I'm excited to see what we can accomplish together, Jae-sung SSI," Min-ho said, his eyes filled with optimism. "Me too, Min-ho SSI," Jae-sung replied. "I believe this project has the potential to make a real impact." They shook hands again, sealing the agreement. As Jae-sung left the agency, he felt a sense of exhilaration. He had not only secured a major collaboration with one of the biggest stars in Asia, but he had also found a kindred spirit in Lee Min-ho. The documentary series, titled Echoes of Hope, was a resounding success. It garnered critical acclaim and resonated with audiences around the world. It told the stories of unsung heroes, of ordinary people who were overcoming adversity and making a difference in their communities. The series became a platform for social change, inspiring viewers to take action and get involved in their own communities. It raised awareness about important issues and helped to break down barriers of prejudice and discrimination. Jae-sung and Min-ho worked closely together on the project, developing a deep respect and friendship. They learned from each other, challenged each other, and supported each other. Jae-sung discovered that Min-ho was not just a talented actor, but also a compassionate human being with a strong moral compass. He was impressed by his humility, his generosity, and his unwavering commitment to using his influence for good. Min-ho, in turn, recognized the genuine transformation in Jae-sung. He saw that he was no longer driven by greed and ambition, but by a sincere desire to make amends for his past mistakes and to contribute to a better world. Together, they built a partnership based on trust, respect, and a shared vision. They became role models for others, demonstrating that even those who have made mistakes can find redemption and use their experiences to inspire positive change. Years passed. Jae-sung and Minho continued to work together on various projects, each one more impactful than the last. Starlight became known as a platform for social good, a company that valued ethics, transparency, and a commitment to making a difference in the world. Jae-sung's reputation was completely transformed. He was no longer seen as a ruthless tycoon, but as a respected philanthropist and a champion of social justice. He received numerous awards and accolades for his contributions to society. He never forgot the lessons he had learned from Mrs. Kim and Lee Min-ho. He remained humble, grateful, and committed to using his resources and influence to help others. One day, Jae-sung received a phone call from Mrs. Kim. She was calling to invite him to her birthday party. "It's just a small gathering, Jae-sung SSI," she said, her voice warm and inviting. "But I would be honored if you could come." Jae-sung was deeply touched by the invitation. He knew that Mrs. Kim had played a pivotal role in his transformation, and he was grateful for her friendship and guidance. "I wouldn't miss it for the world, Mrs. Kim," he said. The day of the party arrived, sunny and bright. Jae-sung arrived at Mrs. Kim's modest home, bearing a bouquet of her favorite flowers. He was greeted by Mrs. Kim at the door, her face beaming with joy. "Jae-sung SSI," she said, embracing him warmly. "Thank you for coming." The party was a simple but heartfelt affair. There were a few close friends and family members, sharing food, laughter, and stories. Jae